Hey, Battle Bill, here with another video, and today we're going to get in some more Premier Cup Go Battle League battles. Whew, let me catch my breath. So, yesterday, I had a huge Premier Cup GBL day. I jumped about 100 points, and like the last video you saw the video before the last video, you saw my rating. It was around the 2700s, like the top 2700s. Yesterday, I jumped about 110 points. I'm sitting in the 2900s. Rank 10 is in sight. So now I have a question for you guys. Can this team consisting of Garchomp, Snorlax, and Metagross get me to rank 10? Now, you might look at it and it's a pretty meta team, so I'm not saying can this Super Spice team get me to rank 10, but I'm just wondering, because right now it's jumped me about 100 points. I just finished another set literally moments ago. It was so intense I had to get in front of the camera and commentate over it. I want to go over each of these matches with you guys and give you the play-by-play and kind of just show you the strengths and weaknesses of this team. I did a video on this team already, but now that I've played with it more, it's a team that I'm really enjoying for Premier Cup. So let's jump right into these battles. I'm really excited to show this set to you guys. Baited Bill turned into the baiter. I make some really huge plays throughout the set, and it was the difference in this being the positive set that it is versus possibly being a negative set. Not spoiling the record, let's get into these matches. I got a Garchomp on a Magnezone Lead here. My opponent goes for the immediate swap, and I've learned my lesson. I know this situation, I've played it enough times. Gotta Sand Tomb, because if you swap in your Snorlax right away on their Snorlax, then they technically have the energy advantage. And lick damage is double resisted, so it kind of comes down to whoever throws a Body Slam first, which would be their Snorlax because they swapped in first. So I throw the Sand Tomb, it not only debuffs them, it does a little bit of damage too, so it gives my Snorlax a bit of a head start in trying to just keep switch advantage for me, because I want my Garchomp to line up with that Metagross later on. So, they're going for a charge move here. They're going to throw their Body Slam. You'll notice their Body Slams are doing less damage than mine are, and that's because, again, Garchomp Sand Tomb debuffs them. And the one thing that's key here is that the quick move damage Lick is a ghost type move. They're both normal type Pokemon. They don't get stab on it. They both double resist it, which is why this matchup relies so heavily on whatever the charge move is. Now, I do have to be weary because they got a little bit of extra energy with my Garchomp staying in a little bit longer. And if they're running Superpower, that could kind of cause me a problem. That's proper English. That just came out so weird. And I'm worried about it potentially coming here, but I know that a Superpower won't take me out. So let's see what comes through. Ends up being the Superpower. Gets me low, but I'm not in lick range. That's still plenty of health. So I'm getting to my Body Slam to potentially take them out, and they pull off a really good swap. They bring in their Metagross here to essentially eat this Body Slam, which is not going to do much damage, really not anything at all, but I can go back into my Garchomp, and they couldn't really get too much extra energy because of the fact they swapped into that Body Slam. So my Garchomp still has a pretty good advantage here. We're still tied or even on shields 2 apiece. I'm going for the Sand Tomb. Doesn't get the shield, gets him in the yellow, and essentially my plan here is I'm going to have to shield the Meteor Mash that's about to come through, and I know they kind of just got to it, so I can over farm a bit and then see if they want to let their Metagross go down or use a shield of their own. So I'm mud-shotting a little bit more, don't want to get too greedy, because the last thing I want to do is use 2 shields. Shields are way too precious in the Premier Cup meta. They're always valuable, they're always important, but in Premier Cup specifically, I feel like they're more precious than in the other leagues. So now they bring in their own Swampert, and here's where a big play happens. They have a 2 shield to 1 shield advantage. You would think my play is to bait them to try and get that shield. So they try to call my bait. Boom! Outrage landed on the Swampert, and that was game over. Right then and there. They don't know I have a Metagross in the back. My Metagross would not have had a fun time with that Swampert, even debuffed. They can go for this Hydro Cannon here. They can keep their 2 shields. I hope they enjoy their 2 shields, while my Metagross comes in here and just bullet punches down the Snorlax's remaining health. Go for this charge move. I know for a fact that it's either Superpower or Body Slam, which is really not worrying Metagross because Superpower is neutral. And then their Swampert can come in, and they don't have enough health to survive these bullet punches. They really hope they do. They really hope they have enough health, so they're going to keep on going for these charge moves. They probably got really upset that I threw that outrage there, and I don't blame them. If I was in their situation, I would have been really salty. But right here, I'm cool with it. I'm just going to bullet punch down. You can keep your 2 shields. I'll take my W with me, and oh my god, was that crazy. Because once I saw that Swampert, I thought that first match was GG. 9 out of 10 times that team is going to beat my team even though I win lead, because Garchomp on Metagross isn't the hardest counter because of Sand Tomb, but Swampert on Metagross in the back is a much harder counter, so making that play was so huge. Getting into the second match, I lose lead. I got Garchomp on Gyarados. I go for the immediate swap in the Snorlax. We talked about Snorlax being my safe swap a couple videos ago with this specific team, and I don't mind seeing him a champ, and you're going to essentially see why here. I'm going to go for this Body Slam. Let's see if they decide to shield it or not. They don't shield it, and it does a good chunk of damage. And I get to these body slams pretty quickly, and my licks are slowly adding up. Notice how about 2/3 to 3/4 of Machamp's health is already gone. Now, they overcharged a bit, so I was worried it was a dynamic punch. I didn't want Snorlax to get one shot, and I knew if I shielded it, I can go for a body slam like I'm about to go for right here, and it would most likely get their shields because they want to maintain switch advantage. So I throw it, I get their shield, understandably so, cool with me. I just know that I got this Machamp low enough now where I can let Snorlax go down, I can bring in Garchomp and just commit to a mud shot down. That's the plan. Garchomp is going to have to tank, well, I think one cross chop if I remember correctly, but those cross chops from Machamp don't hurt Garchomp too badly, which is interesting because of the fact that Machamp gets stabbed, Machamp's pretty attack heavy, Garchomp's not exactly the tankiest, but either way, this Charger is coming through. I'm cool with this cross chop landing on me, does good chip damage. I am committing to the mud shot down, and I'm just really hoping that they can't get to another cross chop. They don't. The Machamp goes down. I'm expecting the Gyarados, so I go immediately for the Outrage. And the main reason why I did this was because I needed something big to land, and it landed. It was huge. They were probably expecting another bait there. If I would have Sand Tombed and got in the shield, that would sound great, but I really need to get their health low because Metagross and Garchomp do not have great matchups against Gyarados. So my plan here was to bring in Metagross, shield that crunch. I want to commit to a bullet punch down, and then I quickly find out that I really can't, so I overcharge a bit. I'm curious to see if they decide to commit to their Gyarados, so I'm going for the Meteor Mash here. They don't commit, takes it out. I have a little bit of extra energy, and their next Pokemon is Metagross, and something crazy is about to happen. I go for the Earthquake right off the bat. They have one shield, but I do have Garchomp in the back, and they don't know. No, they should know what my moves are. They let the Earthquake go through, and that is GG. They must have been really worried about giving up that shield and then Garchomp potentially landing too many ground moves on them, but big plays. Sometimes the bait's not always the way. You gotta think about these things when you're doing these PvP battles. They were probably thinking the bait was so obvious also because I needed to get their shield that they could be safe not shielding and then just commit to a safe win with their Metagross with the shield still against my Metagross and their Garchomp. And those safe plays, sometimes you gotta overthink it. So luckily I pulled that off. Get into this next match, I got Garchomp against Swampert, and I haven't run the sim on this, but I'm pretty confident that Garchomp can get to like 2 Outrages straight up, and they do a solid amount of damage to Swampert. So I let this Hydro Cannon go through. Garchomp can tank about 2 of these, and my plan, literally always whenever I see Swamperts or I see Machamps, it's the same plan. I don't really know how those two correlate, but it's always the same plan. I go straight for the Outrage. I don't even try to bait. So when I go for it, it goes through. I'm landing these big hits, and I land these big hits a lot. It's not just this set. Whenever I run into those types of Pokemon, like I mentioned, those 2 specific ones, people don't want to shield the first charge move, and I'm cool with that. Let your Machamp or your Swampert go down to minimal health. All my Pokemon can deal with a low health Swampert or Machamp later. They bring in their Snorlax. I make that key play of throwing the Sand Tomb and then bringing in my own Snorlax to deal with it. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty comfortable because I know we're even shields. I know we're going to trade a bunch of body slams. And even if I were to give up switch advantage or lose it, I don't mind my Metagross against their Swampert now, because that Swampert's practically dead. And I know they threw at least one Hydro Cannon. They might have one stored up, but Metagross can tank them. I also still have my shields. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Just got to figure out what that last Pokemon is, and we'll deal with it when that time comes. Until then, enjoy some body slam spam between my Snorlax and my opponent's Snorlax. And again, same reason. Notice how my body slams are doing a little bit more damage. Sand Tomb is good like that. I don't know what the heck I was trying to say. Either way, they go for the superpower now because their Snorlax is practically about to get knocked out. They get to another charge move really quickly after, and I don't shield this because I know that it just was not enough energy or time for it to be another superpower, and plus it's debuffed because of the fact they just threw a superpower. So I let that go through. I'm going for my own body slam here. This will either take out their Snorlax or get their first shield. Neither of us have traded shields here, but see how important using that Sand Tomb was on my Garchomp. It allowed me to comfortably bring in my Snorlax against theirs. They bring in their Swampert, and I just swap into Garchomp. And again, like I said, I don't mind giving up switch advantage here, and I kind of expected a Togekiss in the back, which I'm cool with. So I got all these shields, and I'm just going to Sand Tomb it. I'm just going to lower its defense as much as I possibly can because I got a whole Metagross in the back that doesn't care about those two shields. Just like my Pokemon didn't care about the shields in the other two matches. And I'm just going to bring in my Metagross to completely bullet punch down their Togekiss. Now, they're charming a bunch, so I am slightly concerned that they're going to get the two charge moves. I know Charm doesn't charge energy well at all, but in the back of my mind I'm like, we've been sitting here for a while. So I shield that first move. I was expecting Flamethrower. They went for Aerial Ace, so I was like, did I really just get baited? I didn't. Bullet punch it down. We're safe here. Not going to throw a charge move, just going to commit to the bullet punch down. My opponent really just wants to get my last shield so that I can win this with 0 shields against their 2 shields. That must have been their logic throwing that Hydro Cannon. Either way, I bullet punch down their Swampert, and that is another big match of landing big hits. If I can stress anything in this video other than the team itself, is that sometimes you don't always need to go for the bait to like win a match or to have a successful situation. Which is why I get baited so much, because I expect so many people to just throw the big hits because of the overthinking concept. So either way, I hope we can take that away. We're getting to this next match. I won lead, go for the immediate swap, got my Snorlax on their Gyarados here, and I'm just going to go for the body slams, and we're going to see how this plays out. Their Gyarados is going to commit to Dragon Breathing at me, and I'm just going to spam as many body slams because I definitely don't want to throw an Earthquake. So now they shielded, and this tells me that they obviously want to commit to getting switch advantage back because they don't want their Magnezone lined up with my Garchomp. That's a no-no situation for their Pokemon. So I shield immediately, and I get baited here. So Baited Bill makes a small appearance in this set, unfortunately. That was a crunch. I should have figured they'd go for the bait there because they shielded to make sure their Gyarados had preserved its health so it could stick around longer to get multiple charge moves off. So that's more the logic, and I realized it after the fact, but obviously hindsight's always 20/20. So now in this situation, again, shields are precious, so I wasn't giving up another one. Didn't really know where the energy was at. Ends up being a Hydro Pump. They land the big hit on me, and that's crucial here. It happens on both sides. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the king of landing these big hits. I wish I was. I'd be ranked 10 already. So I bring in my Metagross, and I'm gonna just farm up as much energy. I know they're gonna get to a crunch before I can get this Meteor Mash off, so I'm just gonna shield it because a crunch does hurt. Gyarados is a very good counter for Metagross. But because of this, and because Dragon Breath charges so slowly, I'm going to over-farm a bit, and that can be seen here. I'm almost at 2 Meteor Mashes, but then I get worried because they got to the first crunch right as I got to the first Meteor Mash, and I'm not trying to take any chances here, or trying to overstay my welcome, essentially. So this Meteor Mash goes off, takes out the Gyarados. I knew I couldn't farm down. They bring in the Magnezone, and after they landed the big hit on me, I go for the big hit right here, and I'm just hoping. Honestly, I'm cool with them using their shields here, because if they do, I'm just going to bring in Garchomp. What happens is, they don't use their shield, and I one-shot their Magnezone, and he essentially did nothing this entire match. But now they bring in their own Dragonite, and this is still an issue for me. And you might notice something, if you check my Metagross's CP in the top left corner. My best buddy Metagross wasn't being walked with my trainer, and I didn't get the best buddy boost. And we're going to notice how crucial that is, because if his level was higher, that Dragonite's health would be lower. Especially when I landed the Meteor Mash. Look at how close I am. Look at how close. Look at how much health my Garchomp has. But Garchomp does not like Dragonite because of the Dragon Breath and the Dragon Claws hurt that much. So this becomes a race, and you might say maybe I should Mudshot down, but Mudshot's double resisted while they're doing a ton of super effective damage. I needed this Sand Tomb just for the fact that it debuffs. I don't care about the shields. I needed to debuff it. I'm continuing to Mudshot down, and I try to go for the Sand Tomb, and my Garchomp falls, and I was this close to winning that match, and I would have won it if I just had my Metagross best buddied. Another lesson learned. But we don't let those losses keep us down. And ironically, that was actually like my best lead situation. Like I've won a couple leads against the Metagrosses, but Garchomp on Magnezone is like the most ideal lead, and that ends up being a match I lose. But I digress. Getting into the final match of the set, I got Garchomp on a Metagross, so I've won another lead here, and I'm curious to see how my opponent decides to play it out. A lot of Metagrosses stay in, mostly because they want to try and get that one shield from the Garchomp by throwing the Meteor Mash, whereas they don't necessarily need to shield either of the Sandtombs, but it does get them super low, and then these mud shots do add up now that their defense is low. So my opponent's going for a charge move here. I have to shield. It won't take out Garchomp, but it'll get it way too low for me to be comfortable playing around with it. So I shield that, and I'm seeing what they decide to do. They decide to swap. I go for Sandtomb here, which is not incorrect. This isn't the issue, especially because I've overfarmed, so they might expect an outrage. I make the mistake after I do this. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my voice. I get the shield, which is great. I swap in the Snorlax because out of habit, I'm so used to safe swapping Snorlax. I'm just so used to it. So I did it here, but Snorlax doesn't have a good matchup against Dragonite. Luckily, it's debuffed, but watch what's about to happen. He got so much energy, he threw a whole Draco Meteor at me. So I'm just like, oh man, how am I going to fix this match? Luckily, it nerfs the attack of the Dragonite. I don't really know if that's luckily, because the switch timer is also running low, so they can kind of get out relatively soon. I should have brought in the Metagross, just let that be known. If anybody ever uses this team, Dragonite comes in, that's the one time you don't swap in Snorlax. But I'm going to bring in Metagross here. Their defense is lowered, their attack is lowered. I have no intentions of using a shield on whatever this move is, which is most likely going to be a Dragon Claw. Ends up being the Dragon Claw. And I'm hoping the Bullet Punch down, but they make the smart decision to swap. And I'm like, you know what? Just like my Garchomp doesn't want to see a Meteor Mash from their Metagross, their Garchomp doesn't really want to see a Meteor Mash from my Metagross either. They don't shield it, gets it pretty low, and now I'm going to let them go for their charge move. I want them to throw a Sandtomb now on my Metagross. It's not going to one-hit KO me, it'll lower the defense, but now I plan to swap my Metagross out. So that's the play here. I let that hit me. I swap in, and now I'm going to go for my own Sandtomb. They have a shield, so there's no point in going for the outrage either way. Plus, they're pretty low. This Sandtomb will not take them out, but it'll get them low enough for me to try and mud shot them down. So that's the play here. They're going to get to a charge move of their own, but it was pretty quick considering they just threw one and they just came in. So I knew this was a Sandtomb. No intentions of shielding it, because I already know that the Dragonite's going to come in and finish off my Garchomp anyway. So I mud shot it down, and I'm waiting for the Dragonite to come back in. I'm going to throw my Sandtomb. This will not take out my opponent's Dragonite, and it most likely won't get their shields either, but it will lower the defense, and my Garchomp's going to go down pretty quickly after. So now my Metagross is going to come in, and the goal is to try and farm down, but they swap into their own Metagross. But we haven't seen their Metagross since the beginning of the game after they threw the Meteor Mash, and they didn't charge up any extra energy after that had happened. So I get their shields here. They're in Meteor Mash range. I'm also in Meteor Mash range, so they're going to throw their charge move. I'm going to obviously shield it, and this becomes a very intense race to the next Meteor Mash, because that will take out the opposing Metagross. So I get to mine. That's kind of how many times I could say Meteor Mash in one sentence, and luckily I was able to get to it, because this will take out the remaining health of the Metagross. The Dragonite's health is too low. I resist the Dragon Breaths, and I barely bullet punch it down. So it became a race to the Meteor Mash, and then it became a race to whoever's quick move would finish off the opponent. And now I can breathe-ish. I still gotta get to rank 10. Hopefully that'll be tomorrow's video. And as long as everything goes well, it will most likely be with this team. Let me know in the comment section again what you think of this team, and let me know if you think this team will help me get my final push in the rank 10. I'm excited, and I'm probably going to find out tonight, because I still got 5 more sets. So please wish me luck, even though I'll have already been done with my sets by the time this video comes out anyway. So that's a team that I'm in love with right now for Premier Cup. Hopefully I can stay in love with it long enough to get to rank 10. There are no super obvious holes. It does have its weaknesses. Every team does. It's not a perfect team. I'm not coming saying, use this team, you'll win. There are no guarantees like that in Go Battle League, and that is what I love about Go Battle League, but it definitely has its strengths, and I definitely made some big plays in this set. Let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoyed those battles as much as I did. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.